Hi everyone, my name is Emmanuel Ayodele and I am a fourth year PhD candidate in the University of Leeds, and today I'll be speaking on why I should do a PhD. This video is going to be quite long, but I'm going to try to be as straightforward as possible. By the way, if this is your first time of viewing this channel, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And on this channel, I'm mainly going to be speaking on PhDs, tech, and business. So why should you do a PhD? I know most people, when they think of PhDs, all they think of is having the title doctor in front of your name or the 3 letters at the end of your name. So for example, John Doe PhD. But having a PhD is a lot more than just the title. There are things that you benefit as well, that may be as a result of the title, but even for your personal growth, there is so much you would learn from it. First of all, what is a PhD? A PhD is a research degree that is awarded after completing 3 to 4 years of research on independent research on something that is novel. So your methods might be novel, your results might be novel, the entire topic might be novel, but that is beginning to get not as frequent as it used to be in the past. So in the past, people would win Nobel Prizes with their PhDs, but that hasn't been happening in a very long time. Although you still get like PhD researches that are like very that the impact they've had on the world is very significant. So the first reason, so I hope I've been able to like explain what a PhD is to you. So the first reason, of course, is to, for the first time, provide the student or candidate with a degree that basically teaches them how to do research. So it is expected that after your PhD, you would have learned everything that has to do with research, and then you'll be able to implement it in your research career. So the most prominent part in a PhD's candidate career is PhD, postdoc. A postdoc is like a research fellow. Then from your postdoc, you become an assistant professor. From assistant professor, you become an associate professor. Then from associate professor, you become a full professor. That is the career path in academia. Although if you don't want to really go into research and you want to go into teaching, there is senior teaching fellow, but that part is not really taken as much in academia because it's very difficult to go from a teaching fellow to becoming a professor. So yeah, in the US, anybody is called a professor, but any lecturer is called a professor. But in other parts of the world, a professor is what is known as a full professor in the US. I'm doing my PhD in the UK, so when I say professor, I actually mean like the full professor. So that is the typical career path, and for anybody who wants to become a professor, you most likely have to do a PhD. It is almost impossible, although there are a few people who have gone from a master's to a professor without a PhD. And as a Nigerian, the most prominent person to ever do that is Wole Soyinka. So Wole Soyinka got a master's from my university. Yay! University of Leeds. Let me just shout out my university. So Wole Soyinka got his master's from University of Leeds, and then came to Nigeria, was working in, I think, University of Ife, and then eventually became a professor without ever doing his PhD. But there are a few people all over the world who have done that. So that is one part. So the question that would come to your mind most likely would be, okay, if I don't want to be a professor, why should I even do a PhD in the first place? First of all, the world is changing. 20, 30 years ago, if you had the university degree, in fact, let me be more realistic and not just speak about Nigeria. Let me make it a worldwide view. 50 years ago, just post the World War II, having a university degree was like the top. Although there were PhDs already, like Marie Curie, the one that I think her work was on nuclear radiation and everything. They were already PhDs at that time, but having a BSc was like the top. If you had a BSc, that was it. You were going to get a job. Life was easy. But gradually, to 15 to 20 years ago, having a master's degree was seen as like the next stage. So if you had a master's degree, even till now, in most places and in most careers, if you had a master's degree, you would be able to get a job, sure, very little or no competition. It's still like that in some countries, but eventually we're beginning to see more degrees requiring a PhD. And why is that? Because there's some, especially when you're talking of STEM, most companies need innovation. Most companies need research and development. So most companies are beginning to recruit PhDs because you've already gone through that research training. If they get a master's, an employee with just a master's, they would still have to train the candidate, the employee on research and everything, unless you do like a master's of research, which is almost like 1/3 of doing a PhD, so you might as well do a PhD. But they have to still train. So most companies are just realizing that, like, why don't you just get PhDs from PhDs, freshly minted PhDs? So that's already beginning to happen. So you're beginning to see most candidates most PhD candidates get jobs in, PhD holders get jobs in the industry. For example, I don't plan on working in academia, I plan on working in the industry. So I begin to see that it's not as common in the liberal arts, but it's becoming very common in STEM, and even in the business world. You're beginning to see most, if you see any of the policy advisors or economic advisors, most of them always have PhDs. So it just gives you that step in your career. And also, if you now look at it from, because I've been speaking on it from the company's point of view, if you look at it from the PhD candidate's point of view, it means that you would have more access to jobs than a master's degree holder. So if you even look at, especially for tech, I'm going to speak on tech because that is my specialization. If you look at places like artificial intelligence, electrical and electronics engineering, the research, the jobs that require research or that require you taking a leading role in the organization, most times they ask for a PhD. And one thing that I'm very familiar with in job applications, you would see something like a master's degree holder with 5 years experience or a PhD holder. So that PhD gives you a leg up. So that is one. Then secondly, when even based on that, you look at the financial reasons. So there's this, I can't remember his name. He finished his PhD in 2015. I know his work because I've referenced some of his articles. And he started working for this Elon Musk company on AI. It's a non-profit organization. I'm going to try to put his name, like when I'm editing the video, put his name and his salary. I think it's OpenAI. His salary, because it's an NGO, his salary was published publicly. His salary was about $800,000 for a PhD with less than 2 years of experience. Of course, that is the high level, because his PhD work was very impactful, and if anybody knows anything about deep learning, you would know him. Like, I can't remember his name right now, but it was the one that just for those who are very familiar with artificial intelligence, his work was generative adversarial networks, which has literally changed the game. And Apple has now recruited him to be the head of of their AI development. So the department, AI department, the one that works on Siri and every other place they want to apply AI to. And I'm sure they were able to take him from a job with that was paying him 800k per year. Definitely they will be paying him more. So what's 800k? That is like twice the salary of a medical doctor with so much experience. So even if you are not like him and your work is not so impactful, you would be earning a fresh PhD in the right domain should earn at least 200 to 250k in the US. And what is the right domain? Maybe in another video I would list research areas that if you go into, if you do a PhD in 5 years, you're going to be balling in money. But moving on, apart from financial reasons and apart from career, there are so many other things that doing a PhD teaches you. So for example, the one that I would really say I really learned from doing a PhD is the mental strength. In 2020, I'm very happy to see how mental health has been taken way more seriously than other years. I would say even for people of color, we're beginning to take mental health more seriously. Like, it's not like in the past when if somebody is depressed, people would not take it seriously. You can't even take a sick day for being depressed. But now people are taking it more seriously. Doing a PhD really provides, it gives you, if you can finish a PhD, let me put it this way, if you can finish a PhD, I can assure you that you would be mentally stronger than when you came in. I don't think there is any other path for a fresh graduate to take that tests your mental strength, that trains you mentally. Let me never say test, because although they test it, but let me be more positive, that trains you mentally than doing a PhD. Maybe starting a company when you're fresh out of school can do that, but that is very expensive because it takes your time, and most likely you would not succeed. It's very difficult to find people who have graduated from school and then started companies that have become successful. So it might test you as much as a PhD would test you, but what you would gain cannot be compared, especially when you look at it from the risk to the reward ratio. So yeah, that is one major thing, testing mentally, because in a PhD you're going to go through a lot of things. I have had so many papers that I would have submitted and they would get rejected, so many proposals, so many times you would do an experiment and you'd be expecting it to work perfectly and you would have to do the experiment again like 10 times. Luckily, most of my for my PhD, I had a mixture of simulations and physical experiments, but for people who have had, so it was not as bad as people whose PhDs are mainly physical experiments. Physical experiments are very, let me not speak a lot about that, but physical experiments are very difficult and they stress you mentally because you can, something can just affect it and you would not even understand why it's not going well. But at least for simulations, it can still go badly, but you don't have to start from scratch. You just have to change a few parameters or look at your theories again, which can still be frustrating, but it can be as frustrating as buying, not even the finances of even buying what you need for experiments, but even the fact that you would have to wait for it to get delivered, then set up, and then you do it and it doesn't work, and then you have to think again, go back to the drawing board. You see, when you go through that for 3 to 8 years, because I know in the US a PhD is on average is about 5 to 8 years, but in the UK it's 3 to 4. When you go through that for, let's say, 5 to 6 years, there is nothing the world can throw at you that would make you feel like, oh, you want to give up. So if you can finish a PhD, the mental strength that you will have and your ability to be able to say, hold on, let me go back to the drawing board and look at it with fresh eyes. And you see, this skill is so important in so many areas of your life, your personal life, and even in business. Like if you have a business and your product is not selling, for a lot of businesses fail because there's so many reasons, but most times, I don't have statistics to back it up. So let me just say, some businesses fail because the founders don't have the mental strength to be able to cancel their losses and quickly move on to something else, switch the product, switch the process, switch the way they're marketing or selling their product, or even change the business idea, or even know when to stop. As a PhD, there's so many experiments you would do, like you would think, okay, this is going to win me a Nobel Prize, and then you do it and it doesn't work. And you might still try to redo it, but it gets to a point whereby you just wait and just think, this might not work now, let me put it on hold and try something else. And that's what doing a PhD really teaches you. And then secondly, this should be the third point, because I'm trying my best to just do it straight without so much edit. Thirdly, collaboration. As a PhD student, you would go for conferences in which you would meet people who are doing your work, and sometimes it leads to collaborations. Like it's very rare to find a paper where you just see one person wrote it, one person designed the experiment, one person performed the experiment, one person wrote the paper, one person proofread it, one person edited it. It's very rare to find one person doing that. Of course, the first author does most of the work, but you collaborate with people, you run your ideas through them. Sometimes they help you perform the experiment, sometimes they even just help you edit it, proofread your work and everything, and you give them a shout out as your co-author. And then also you even have, it's as you go up in research, it's very rare to actually just do the work yourself. So if you're a PhD student, your supervisors are helping you with your research, so they are co-authors. If you become an assistant professor, an associate professor, or even a professor, let me limit it to assistant and associate professor. If you become an assistant or associate professor, you have PhD students who do the work and who you supervise. So you are co-authoring your research with them, whether it is a paper, whether it is a conference presentation, you are doing that with them. If you become a professor, you have postdocs, you have PhD students too, who are also doing the work. Most times, a professor doesn't actually do anything other than tell their student what you should look at this area, because as a professor, you would have read widely, you'd have been to so many places, your brain should be flowing with ideas. That's what I believe with professors. Like I believe like a professor should just have a spring of ideas anytime they want to, like they should be able to just know research areas and research problems. So most professors don't actually do any work themselves, they just tell their postdocs or PhD students ideas, and then most times postdocs, because most PhD students actually find the ideas themselves. The professor might read their work when they're done, might sponsor their PhD, but most times they do that. So I would just say postdocs. So the postdocs do all the work, but the ideas are from the professor. So that way you would hardly ever find somebody who is just doing all the work themselves and doing everything. And even if you do it that way, it's very difficult for you to be successful, because it is nowadays you're expected to publish so many papers a year. So if you want to spend all your time doing all of that for just one paper, how would you have time to do other things and publish other research? And in contrast, a PhD, which is my fourth point, a PhD also teaches you to do things yourself. So for example, with my supervisors helped me to design the experiment. They helped me to they guided me in areas that I could look at, although they were very broad, but they really guided me. I really appreciate my supervisors a lot. If any of my supervisors are watching, I really appreciate you. I'm not going to say your names, but I really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much. So they guided me a lot in terms of the idea, in terms of the experiment. They read my work. But aside from that, I was the one who designed the experiment specifically, performed the experiment, looked at the results, in which I showed them the result and were able to say if I should do more work or if it was okay. And then I was able to, I wrote the paper myself, they read it and edited it, etc. But what a PhD teaches you is you'll be able to design experiments and perform experiments yourself. You'll be able to also write. You'll be able to, if you have a conference, your supervisor is going to create slides for you. You're going to create these slides yourself. You're going to learn how to do public speaking, because if you're speaking at a conference, you're going to be speaking in front of at least 200 people, unless it's a very small conference. And if it's that small, maybe it's a workshop, and even presenting in front of 50 people in a workshop is still a lot. Still takes a toll on you. Like, you have to learn how to do that. You have to learn how to publicly speak. So a PhD teaches you all of this, and these are just skills that just talk about how to, that really concentrate on presenting your research. And presentation skills are skills that can be applied anywhere, whether you are presenting to your boss in a company, whether you're presenting as a CEO to your board of directors, whether you're even running for office and you're presenting to a large number of people at a campaign rally, although you can't do that right now because of COVID. But it just teaches you these skills, and these are presentation skills that can be applied in any area, any sphere of life. Now, with all of this, the one thing I've never mentioned is technical skills, because if you are doing a PhD, you're going to gain skills that are going to be the top of your field. So, for me, I might not write programs like to design websites or so, but the programs that I write for artificial intelligence are top line. Like, in another video, I would speak about, I'll become more personal and like give more information, but for now, I'm not doing that. But in any field, if you have a PhD in that field, you're supposedly supposed to be an expert in that field. So you have all the technical skills that are required in that field, and that should get you top dollar. That should get you personal satisfaction. So basically, like, you would get technical skills that make you the best in your field, and that can really impact everything you do, especially your career. So in summary, doing a PhD helps you get technical skills, helps you get presentation skills, helps you develop high levels of mental strength, helps you become a guru at doing research, which can be applied either in the industry or in academia. And then the one that most people know, the title, but I didn't really want to go deep into what the title will do for you because it varies among cultures. For example, in Germany, I heard that if you have a PhD, you need to change your passport because they have to put like the doctor as part of your name, and then they give you like this sword or key or something. But in the UK, it's not really as appreciated as it should be. In the US, it's very appreciated, especially in tech or STEM in general. But in Africa, especially Nigeria, like having a PhD it will change your life. But I did not want to go into that because it really depends on the culture, and YouTube is a global platform. Anybody from anywhere will be watching it, so I don't want to limit my audience. If you've liked this video, please like this video, subscribe. You should actually subscribe because I'll be speaking a lot more about this. In my next set of videos, I'm going to be talking about how to apply for a PhD, career, like I would go into detail on career prospects if you have a PhD, and so many more. So that is just even my PhD, but I would also delve into tech. at some point, and startups or businesses in general. So thank you for watching this video. Once again, Emmanuel Ayodele.